He was a hero to millions, a man who built an empire with his bare hands and $1 million smile. But on October 7, 2025, the world saw a different picture of Dave Sparks, the man known as Heavy D. Not in a monster truck, not on TV, but in handcuffs, booked into the Salt Lake County Jail. How did the larger-than-life star of Diesel Brothers fall so far, so fast? The story is so much sadder than you think. Forged in hardship. Long before the fame, the money, and the monster trucks, Dave Sparks was just a kid from Utah watching his own hero, his father, fight a battle that seemed impossible to win. When Dave was young, his dad was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Doctors gave him only a few weeks to live, but his father refused to give up. For 20 long years, Dave watched his dad fight, getting knocked down by health problems again and again, only to get right back up every single time. In Dave's own words, he watched his dad just get his ass kicked and get right back up. This taught Dave a powerful lesson. You never, ever quit. Tragically, when Dave was just 21 years old, his father's long battle finally came to an end. The loss of his father wasn't the only hardship his family faced. Because of the brain tumor, his dad was medically discharged from the military, and the family lost everything. They became homeless. Can you imagine that? For 6 weeks, the entire Sparks family lived out of a van. His parents did whatever they could to make ends meet. They installed car stereos and delivered Domino's pizza. When his dad got too sick from chemotherapy, his mom would go out and deliver his pizzas for him, just so they could survive. Living through that kind of struggle changes a person. For Dave, it lit a fire inside him. He saw what it was like to have nothing, and he promised himself he would build a life where his own family would never have to face that kind of pain. He learned from his father that you could stare down the impossible and refuse to lose. He adopted his father's mindset, saying, "My approach to life is that your worst-case scenario really isn't that bad." That fighting spirit, that never-break attitude, would become the engine that powered his incredible rise to the top. But it would also become the very thing that led to his tragic downfall. The rise of the diesel empire. Dave Sparks was born with grease under his fingernails. From the time he was a little kid, he was fascinated by anything with an engine and wheels. His very first project was a 1976 Yamaha YZ80 motorcycle, which he built and customized himself. While other kids were focused on sports or video games, Dave spent most of his time in high school learning auto mechanics, welding, and how to fabricate parts from scratch. He knew exactly what he wanted to do with his life. After high school, he managed an ATV and motorcycle rental business for a close friend and mentor, which gave him countless hours of hands-on experience. He tried college, enrolling at Weber State University, but after just one semester, he knew the classroom wasn't for him. He believed he could learn more in the real world by actually doing the work. So he dropped out and started his own small excavation business, operating heavy machinery for his uncle's construction company and building things like rock walls and waterfalls. It was hard work, but it was his own. Then, in 2008, he made a decision that would change his life forever. He hired his first employee, his best friend, David Kiley, who everyone would soon know as Diesel Dave. The two had met at a church event for young singles, and their shared passion for all things mechanical made them an instant team. Together, they were a powerful force. Dave Sparks got his dealer's license, opened a small used car lot, and started working to build his dream company, Diesel Sellers. The idea was simple, but brilliant. They would find old, wrecked, or forgotten diesel trucks, drag them back to their shop, and transform them into massive, badass custom machines that nobody had ever seen before. Then, they'd sell them online. But they added a genius twist. They started giving away one of their incredible custom trucks in a sweepstakes every single month. This wasn't just a business, it was the beginning of a brand, an empire built on diesel, smoke, and the American dream. From YouTube to television stardom. Before they were TV stars, the Diesel brothers were kings of the internet. Dave and his crew started filming their work in the shop. They weren't just fixing up trucks, they were pulling wild pranks, performing crazy stunts, and showing off their monstrous creations in a way that was fun and exciting. They posted these videos on YouTube, and people couldn't get enough. Their channel exploded, gaining millions of followers who loved their over-the-top style and their genuine friendship. Their online fame got so big that it caught the eye of a television legend, Jay Leno. He invited them to be on The Tonight Show, and that appearance put them on a whole new level. Suddenly, everyone in America knew who these bearded, fun-loving guys from Utah were. It wasn't long before Hollywood came calling. The Discovery Channel saw what everyone else saw: pure entertainment. In 2016, the show Diesel Brothers premiered, and it became an instant, massive hit. The show was all about building the biggest, baddest trucks on the planet. They took ordinary vehicles and turned them into unforgettable icons. One of their most famous creations was the Mega Ram Runner. It started life as a rolled-over, salvaged Ram 2500. The team stretched the frame and body, adding a third row of doors to create a massive 6-door beast. Underneath, they installed a 600-horsepower Cummins engine, a custom Ford transmission, and massive Axletech 4000 planetary axles that each weighed as much as a small car. The whole thing, weighing over 14,000 pounds, rode on 43-inch military tires. It was a true monster that became a legend when it was unveiled at the SEMA Auto Show in 2014. They built another giant called Hercules, a Chevy Duramax that stood an incredible 11 feet tall. It started as a wrecked truck that had been in a head-on collision. The crew built a custom tube subchassis that lifted the body high enough to fit 64-inch tires, also using massive Axletech 4000 axles. Even with all that power and size, they kept the interior looking almost stock, creating a bizarre but awesome combination of a daily driver and a monster truck. Their builds were legendary, but their collaborations were even bigger. They teamed up with the legendary Chuck Norris to design and build a truck called Truck Norris. It was based on Heavy D's personal Chevy Silverado, Zeus. They gave it a powerful Duramax engine, a custom suspension, and huge 40-inch Nitto tires. The best part of the story? Norris needed the truck for a commercial in just 3 days. The crew worked around the clock to make it happen, because, as Heavy D said, you do whatever Chuck Norris wants you to do. But their stunts were what really pushed the limits. They built a somersault truck, a vehicle with a unique cage that could literally do a full forward flip. Their first attempt, with an egg-shaped cage, failed because the shape absorbed too much energy. So they consulted with Heavy D's brother, an applied physics professor, and redesigned it with a more circular cage that allowed it to complete the flip. But their most ambitious idea was the Monster Jump Live event, where Heavy D planned to jump a monster truck over a flying airplane on live television for the whole world to see. He was on top of the world, a self-made millionaire and a beloved TV star. But as his star rose higher, a shadow was beginning to form, one that would soon threaten to block out all the light. The people's hero. To the millions of people who watched his show and followed him online, Heavy D was more than just a celebrity who built cool trucks. He was a hero. He carefully built an image of himself as a good, down-to-earth family man. He met his wife Ashley at church, and they married a year later. He often talked about how much he loved her and their 3 children, Charlie, Bo, and Mac. This wasn't just a TV persona, this was the man he presented to the world, and people loved him for it. But it was his actions outside the shop that truly made him seem like a real-life superhero. When disaster struck, Heavy D was often one of the first to help. After Hurricane Harvey devastated Texas with historic rainfall and flooding that displaced over 30,000 people, he flew his own personal helicopter down to help with relief efforts. He didn't just fly. He sent 6 semi-trucks loaded with supplies and rescue equipment to Houston. He used his skills and special equipment to help in search and rescue missions for missing people, like the search for a teenager named Dylan Rounds. He also helped stranded snow victims in California, and even helped the family of a late pilot extract a plane wreckage from a wilderness area. His generosity seemed to have no limits. Every year, he organized huge toy drives to make sure kids in need had a Merry Christmas. In one famous story, he saw a video of a family being harassed and kicked out of their camping spot. He was so moved that he found the family, brought their broken-down truck to his shop, and gave it a complete top-to-bottom makeover for free, even getting companies like Polaris to donate a brand-new 4-seater UTV. These acts of kindness were real and made a huge difference in people's lives. They were also heavily filmed and promoted on his social media channels, building him an army of loyal fans. This image of a selfless hero made his eventual fall from grace all the more shocking and tragic. He had built up so much goodwill, creating a kind of armor of public opinion around himself. Many believed that a man who did so much good couldn't possibly be a bad guy. This belief would make him feel untouchable, but it offered no protection from the law. The law comes knocking. While Heavy D was building his reputation as a hero, a group of doctors in Utah was growing more and more concerned. They were called Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, or UPHE, and their mission was to fight for cleaner air for the people in their state. And they saw Heavy D and the Diesel brothers as a major part of the problem. In 2017, they filed a lawsuit that would change everything. The lawsuit accused the Diesel brothers of breaking a very important federal law, the Clean Air Act. They were illegally modifying their diesel trucks by removing the pollution control equipment. This process is often called deleting the emission system and involves using defeat devices to trick the truck's computer. Why would they do this? Some truck owners believe that deleting these systems gives the engine more power and better fuel economy, and it helps them avoid expensive repairs on complicated parts. For the Diesel brothers, it also allowed them to do something that became a signature part of their brand: rolling coal. That's when a truck shoots out huge clouds of thick black smoke from its exhaust pipes. It looked cool to their fans, but the doctors at UPHE knew the dark truth. That black smoke is full of poison. According to the doctors and the Environmental Protection Agency, when you remove the pollution control equipment, you turn a truck into a disease-generating machine. To prove their point, UPHE bought a truck from Sparks Motors and had it tested. The results were shocking. The truck released 36 times more pollutants and 21 times more particulate matter than a normal truck. This pollution is linked to very serious health problems like asthma, especially in children, lung disease, heart attacks, and even cancer. The lawsuit wasn't just about smoke, it was about the health and safety of the community. The very thing that helped make the Diesel brothers famous was now at the center of a legal battle that threatened to destroy their entire empire. A war on two fronts. The lawsuit was a long and brutal fight. The doctors group, UPHE, first sued Heavy D and his companies for an incredible $114 million. Heavy D decided to fight back with everything he had. He didn't see himself as a polluter. In his eyes, this was a personal attack. He told his fans that the lawsuit was a money grab by bad actors and zealous environmental attorneys who were twisting the law to make a profit. He believed he was standing up to a broken system and fighting for his freedom. His millions of followers and other influencers in the truck world rallied behind him, creating a powerful echo chamber that told him he was the hero in this story, fighting against government overreach. But in the courtroom, the story was very different. In March 2020, a federal judge ruled against him, finding that he and his co-defendants had broken the law hundreds of times. The judge hit them with a massive penalty of over $850,000. Heavy D refused to give up and appealed the decision. But in December 2021, the appeals court sided with the doctors, largely upholding the ruling and calling his actions flagrant misconduct. To make matters even worse, the court ordered him to pay for UPHE's legal fees, which added nearly another $1 million to his bill. He was now facing a debt of almost $2 million. While this legal war was raging, Heavy D's judgment seemed to get cloudier, and he made other decisions that hurt his public image. He very publicly supported his good friend, Trevor Milton, the founder of the electric truck company Nikola Motors. He stood by Milton even after Milton was convicted of massive fraud for lying to investors and scamming them out of millions of dollars. Milton's company had become famous after releasing a video that seemed to show their electric semi-truck driving on its own power. But it was later revealed they had just rolled it down a hill. Despite the conviction, Heavy D's loyalty was so strong that he joined Milton in an attempt to take over the company's board, leading Nikola to sue them both. Then came the Z-car disaster. He posted a YouTube video showing his crew crushing and destroying dozens of classic Datsun and Nissan Z-cars. The backlash from car lovers was huge and angry. He quickly deleted the video and apologized, saying the cars were just rusty junk that couldn't be saved. But the damage was done. Some fans also began to criticize him for glorifying dangerous figures like the Killdozer Man, and for what they saw as a new, arrogant attitude that was all about flaunting his wealth. He bought a $500,000 ripsaw tank from Kanye West, a vehicle so extreme he called it every man's wet dream. He also purchased military Black Hawk helicopters, trusting only one mechanic in the country to work on them. The hero of the people was starting to look like just another celebrity who thought the rules didn't apply to him. The fall. The weight of the nearly $2 million in fines and legal fees was crushing. The legal system that Heavy D had defied for so long was now closing in on him, and the pressure was becoming too much to bear. His next move shocked everyone. In a YouTube video, he announced a massive "everything must go" sale at his famous shop. He said he was selling everything: tools, equipment, unfinished projects, and even personal items he swore he'd never part with. In the video, he told his fans there was a teeny tiny group of people out there who would love to see us fail. It was a clear sign that he was in deep financial trouble. The situation was so serious that a federal judge had to step in and temporarily stop the sale. The judge wanted to set rules for where the money from the sale would go, likely to make sure it could be used to pay the massive fines he owed. The walls were closing in, but still, Heavy D did not pay. For over 3 years, he ignored the court's orders. The court's patience finally ran out. On June 24, 2024, a judge officially found him in contempt of court for his refusal to comply. On October 2, 2025, that same judge issued a warrant for his arrest. 5 days later, on October 7th, the unthinkable happened. Dave Heavy D Sparks, the TV star, the entrepreneur, the hero, was arrested and taken to jail. He was released a few days later after he finally agreed to give the court the financial information it had been demanding. But when he got out, he wasn't sorry or humbled. He went right back on social media, not to apologize, but to declare victory. He told his followers that he felt vindicated and promised to keep fighting against the broken system that he believed had wronged him. The fall was complete. Dave Sparks lived the American dream. He rose from a childhood of pain and poverty to become a rich, famous, and beloved television star. But the tragedy of Heavy D is that the very same spirit that made him a success was also what caused his downfall. His rebellious, rule-breaking, never-say-die attitude built an empire. It made him bigger, louder, and more defiant than anyone else. But in the end, He chose to defy a federal law that was stronger than he was, and the consequences were devastating. His story, once a tale of inspiration, is now a sad warning about how quickly a dream can turn into a nightmare.